So if we all want to take our seats and we'll get comfortable again for our last couple of presentations of the day. I am delighted to welcome our next speaker, Darren Crombie from Bridgit Care. Darren is a social entrepreneur, a good friend of mine. It was actually on my podcast last week. So Darren's going to share the work that he does, very much in the tech for good space, and some really innovative solutions that they've been deploying there to help unpaid carers.
Cool. Cheers. Thank you, everyone. So hopefully, you can hear me. So feel free to move forward. I don't know how much room we're going to have. I think some people are still drinking coffee. But yeah, I'm going to just give you guys an overview. I know we can kick the slides onto the screen. Yeah. All right, brilliant. Yeah, so I'm going to just talk a little bit about, I guess, making it real. So we've seen a lot of presentations today about the techs, the platforms, maybe the ideas that you guys can go through. So what I'm going to cover off today is just a real example about how we actually can make a real difference to people out there and how we're actually scaling support across the UK. So I'm Darren. I'm the founder of several social enterprises. So Bridgit, which I'm going to share today, is all that family carer support. We've got businesses that help with sustainability and SMEs, organisations that help in exploited care workers in the UK, as well as platforms for businesses as well to help them scale. And all those things all use the same system that we've built, and we've built that in-house, so we don't actually use any of the kind of platforms that you've seen around today. So I'm going to just give a bit of a challenge. What's going on in the public sector? Why do we need to do things differently? Talk about the impact, so actually how are we making a difference, show you a bit about actually how our AI works, so what is the models that we've built, how do we set that up, how do we think about AI, give you a quick demo. You might need to come to the front if you want to see it, but it's a WhatsApp AI platform that I'll show you that we use for our carers. And then just the outreach, like I'm here, I'll always support any social business, social enterprise, public sector organisation, so if you want any help, just give me a shout and I'll give you my contact details at the end. So why do we need to think differently? Well, in the UK right now, 1 in 10 councils are at the brink of bankruptcy. We're working with councils all across the UK. Birmingham's a big one. They're absolutely screwed right now, and there's big challenges there, and that means that our citizens, our friends, our families are all being put in a position where they're not getting access to the services that they actually deserve. So we need to do something differently. And for me personally, when I came up with the idea for Bridgit, I was coming from a place where I'd been looking after a team of community nurses. I'd seen how we adopt technology in the NHS and saw a gap in how we actually adopt and support our family care community. And for those that don't know, there's 6 million family carers in the UK, all helping brothers and sisters, mums, daughters. In this room, 1 in 6 of you will be family carers. So there's lots of people out there today, and if we can embrace them, then we can make a real impact to the system. So what we've really looked at is this, what we call the needs pyramid. So how do we help people to stay well, stay at the bottom of this pyramid and out of higher cost services for longer? And then how can we scale and use things like AI to help us to do that? So can we use AI and ads integration to nudge family carers that are unknown to our support? Can we scale up carer support services by using AI coaches to actually manage, support and enhance the services that they deliver? And can we actually save money by using AI for those kind of front door services that we can redeploy into things like home care services? And to put it blunt, AI can't wipe your ass, right? So you need like real people in the real world to do that, but there are things that AI can do, and that's why we should be using them where we can. So our system for Bridgit is relatively straightforward. So we work across GP networks with different areas, and we run ads that find family carers. Those family carers come into our platform, which actually has effectively a support topics, modules in it, that are all written specifically for that carer. So it understands that you're looking for support for dad who's got dementia, that you're struggling with your finances, that you need extra help, and it actually writes all the content using Gen AI and our system to do that. You can get extra things on like discount cards and access to extra support, and then you can come into what today I learned it's a chatbot, but we've never called it a chatbot. So for us, it's a coach. It's something that we empower to take actions on behalf of the carer that they're supporting. And it happens to be some of that's chat, some of that's vision AI. we use different AI in that, and I'll show you some of that in a minute. And then the other bit is we triage. So we find that carer, we support them, we coach them. Every 2 weeks we check in with them. And when we see they're struggling, when we see there's a safeguarding issue, whether there's an issue, maybe self-harm, we then actually get that person into a real-world service. Be that a mind service to support granddad with dementia, a carer charity, you can give them a call. It's all about integrating that experience. So it's not just about AI, it's about human-facilitated services, and that's what we do in the public sector. And the way that we approach that is actually across the UK now. I think there's a little map there, you can see. We're actually, that's every town and city that we've actually supported a carer in the UK. So every town and city, every place that you guys come from, there'll be somebody in your neighbourhood that we've helped. And in specific areas, we work closely with carer charities. So in Birmingham, I mentioned that they've got a lot of struggles right now. Our platform sits behind the carer charity brand and supports them to scale their services. And if we look at the month, so this was an old pack, but in October, just in that month across Birmingham, we found 2,500 people that needed help. We got 2,000 of those into support plans that actually are helping them to look after themselves, access financial support, get back into education. So all those topics in there, they're accessing and getting that guidance from. That delivered a 90 grand saving. That's how much it would have cost us to actually deliver that with real people in the real world. And that in itself, by empowering those family carers, has saved 300 grand in cost of the people that family carer is caring for, maybe going into hospital. So when you do these things, you can do things that are quite cheap. So our service for Birmingham is 7 grand a month. So our charges is basically 5 to 10K per region we work. So it's quite a cheap service, but it actually allows you to triple your impact. So you don't have to spend an extra 3 million to do that additional impact. You can spend 7K. So it's a big step change for public services. We got awards and stuff for it as well. So just to explain a bit behind the scenes, so this is how we think about things. So we start by thinking about the support that person needs and the person that needs to provide that. So it could be a dementia coach, it could be a technology-enabled care advisor, it could be a care coach or something that's going to help you get into housing. And then we say, right, so what does that persona need? And then we start to ingest data. So we take trusted data sources and then we scrape that or we ingest it through PDFs or we hit into APIs and we then make that, so we've got location-specific data sets, regionally specific data sets, type-specific data sets, or interestingly, user-specific data sets. So building an understanding of that user, their needs, their desires, their ambitions, their dreams, and building that into the models. We then provide structured and unstructured advice. So unstructured is just your chat that you've probably seen today. Structured is where we build predefined question sets that guide carers through specific topics to get to the answer that they need. And then we integrate. So we actually build agents that can act. So we can hit APIs on behalf of the carer. We can register them into an additional service. We can make a booking on a website on their behalf. We can send an event that's coming up in 2 weeks' time that they can go and join a mind group. So it's all about not just chatting, but actually then driving changes in behaviour, and for that's preventative care, to help join that experience for the carer. And the data side of that, for the techies in here, this is quite a simple model, but for us it was something we just built out, which is we effectively have that user question, which could be from our system or from a user, that comes into OpenAI. We translate that to a vector. We then push that into our Pinecone service, get that match, bring that back as the context, and then feed that into either into the portal itself, where we're actually using that to write content, or into the chat session, or into some of the documentation and things we provide. So that's the kind of end-to-end model for us. But always kind of thinking about how do we make sure that the data and the context is relevant? How do we make sure that it's current, so it's actually the latest information? And how do we also restrict the data sometimes so that we make sure that we've got trusted data, we're reducing the amount of hallucinations, we still get them, it's a bit of a nightmare, but reduce the number of hallucinations and then improve that experience for the carer. And what that does mean is that in every region, and we've got lots of regions where we're now working across the UK, we have these databases in Pinecone that we're then calling on as we provide support. I'll just show you a bit about how this works from a user perspective. So if I go into Google, so here you can see, for those that the front, for those that are back, you're going to just need good glasses. So sorry about that. But if you go to Google and you just search for, I want help with dad's dementia, I need financial support as a carer, I need some kind of support, then what happens in any of the regions which were supported with local councils is an ad pops up. You click on that ad, we take that UTM term, so that search term, and then we actually then create a personalised AI-driven plan for the carer based on that search term. So we basically say, okay, they need support for dementia, they're looking for financial assistance. That starts to build that user profile and takes them straight into a support plan. The other route for a carer is just to come into our portal, which is designed to be quite accessible and easy to navigate. We use a lot of emojis and stuff like that. The average reading age is about 11, 12 for most people in the UK. Might be slightly higher in this room, I'm not sure. But yeah, we've got to make sure everything's accessible. And in here, we can just go in, select the areas of support I need, and then this actually takes you into our core support area. So this is, what you'll see in a second, is actually AI-generated content that's bringing together all of the content that we need as a carer. So we know that it can be hard to get support. You want it all in one place. So we're basically sucking it all into our brain, and then we're effectively using that to write content for carers. So I'll close that down. In here, we can add a location to get location-specific content. So I've actually added in Edinburgh. If I can spell it. I always spell Edinburgh wrong. Let's see. So this would be all the locations we've got data sets for. So we can select that. So now it's actually going to write a tip. This is just using Gen AI right now. Just write a tip in Edinburgh for local services and provide a recommendation in terms of who you can access. That works anywhere in the world. So we're launching this in Canada. The AI actually finds the information sources, finds things like, it actually builds a real-time local service directory. So rather than kind of trusting service directories that might be out of date, and I'm going to speak to Chris in a minute about integrating your stuff into here as well, but it actually just uses Google to build real-time service directories for people that need support. The chat side's interesting, so I'll jump into that. So here I can connect my WhatsApp number. Once I've connected that, I can ask any question I want about my carer role. I can sign up for weekly check-ins. I can access additional tools. I can find out about events and have those chats. But these are the conversation sets. So I'm briefly going to show you one of these. So this is a conversation set with an OT assessor who's going to help us to look at the property, take a few pictures from around the property, and then build me a risk assessment. And the reason that that's important is because currently today, you might wait 8 weeks to get somebody around to do this type of assessment. And what I'm going to show you can do that in 3 minutes in WhatsApp straight away. And I'm not going to do a live demo because it will go wrong. So I got one of the team to video it, and I've not looked at the video, but hopefully it'll be all right when we get there. So let's have a look. For this, you might want to come a little bit closer, but if not, that's cool. So let's have a look. I'm going to come down with the mic. Actually, I can see it from here. So yeah, so you can see there, we've basically put, I want help with home safety. It's saying, hello, welcome to your WhatsApp carer support. I'm an online support plan. We're not a real person. I'm here to help you, but I can't provide emergency support. So that's really important. So the first thing it's asking is for our first name. So it's actually matched us to home safety. So it actually has us selected to figure out what function we're linking to. So Beth's typed a name in here. She's then said actually she's in Leeds, and this will work anywhere in the UK. And then it's asking, can you give us a bit more information about the people in the property? Do they have any mobility issues? So my mum has a walking stick, and her arthritis is getting worse. And what it's doing right now is just going through a structured question set. So we're trying to find out a bit more about that person. We're providing prompts that are written through AI back to that user. But we're just trying to constrain things to learn a bit and give them that guidance, really, to the information we need. So she's 65 and lives by herself. So it's talking about her mum. And then it's asking, has anybody in the property had a fall in the last 6 months? And that's really important because if they've had a fall, they're higher risk, so we might provide different advice to them as it goes through. So now we're learning about the property. So I'm just worried she's going to have a fall soon. So that's what users might type in. They might say, actually, I'm worried about how do they access cupboards in the kitchen. Lots of things you could be asking there to find out. So now we've moved from kind of Gen AI, so now we're into Vision AI. So what we're doing here is asking them, based on what they've said they want support for, to send some pictures of the house. So you can see there, it's actually got a picture of a pathway. So there's some issues potentially with the fence there. There's some parcels that have been left in the middle of the pathway, which would be a trip hazard. So it will actually now be going through and using some of the AI tech we built with Microsoft to look at that, find those issues, find those safety risks, and then feed that back into the prompt that then you'll see in a minute. So the next one it's asked for is a kitchen. It's a nice kitchen. It's better than mine. So yeah, if you'd have seen my kitchen, there's crap everywhere, basically. It's not tidy, but it would be a good use case for this. So yeah, that kitchen looks quite clean and modern, but there is a basket on the floor. So that's a trip hazard. There's a rug there as well. And you can see now it'll analyze the image. And then at this point now, what it's actually done is it's taken all that image data, it's then fed that back into effectively OpenAI with some additional context and a load of different system prompt builders that we've got in place. It's now basically feeding back to the user that we're reviewing images and identifying risks, but actually it's just waiting right now. So it's basically coming up with all that information. And because it's streaming, and because it's WhatsApp, we have to wait for it all to come back before we provide it to the user. So in about another 10 seconds, you'll get a detailed assessment for the property. And then after that, 10 seconds later, we'll then actually generate a PDF for that person, which has got a full assessment of each of those different images, a list of recommendations, and then specific local services and things that they can do. So you can see here in WhatsApp, you've got that initial safety score for the property, falls risk, fire risk, lighting risks that actually come through it. And the way it does that, it uses our prompts to figure out what the risk is based on the images and the advice provided. And then in a second, it will give us the actual PDF, which you can see on here anyway. So let me open that up. So I'm just going to pull that onto that screen. So you can see here, this is the detailed actual assessment. So you've got the positive elements of the kitchen, so it's well lit, natural light, overhead lighting, some explanation about the trip hazard, or the fact that there's a rug in there. And this is really valuable information. This is what an OT would produce in the real world. You've got the detailed information in terms of the property risks, and then actually for us, we've got low-cost options for that person, as well as local services to connect them to. And this is one of 70 different functions that we build in the system for false risk, but we do this for every kind of area that we might want to support a carer. I think that's probably enough on the demo. So I've got 2.5 minutes left. So there's my details, but any questions, any thoughts that anybody's got? No?
What's the entry point for somebody who's not so technically savvy?
What's WhatsApp?
Hello. What would be the entry point for somebody that's not so technically savvy? Like, let's say, like a grandfather or a grandmother looking after their partner.
So if they can use WhatsApp, then they can use the platform. If they can't use WhatsApp, then we'd signpost them into a local carer service that could have a one-to-one session with them. Because in that case, this isn't the right platform for them. Every time we message, for example, a patient through a GP system, we always say you've got an online version, but you've got a real-world version as well, in case you need to get access and support.
Thanks.
Yeah, sorry.
Who are your customers?
So we're a social enterprise, so we are supported by councils across the UK. So we've got 22 councils that we work closely with, but then we provide a free platform to any carer in the UK that needs help.
Do you want to pop that up on the screen just so
Yeah, yeah.
you can see?
Do you get funding other than sort of license income from?
No. So there's lots of data there. We could upsell, we could use it for marketing purposes, but we don't do that because we're a social enterprise. So we basically get licensed from the councils. We don't do any advertisements or anything like that.
But you don't get any central government funding or anything like that?
No. There's a program that came out in England called the ARF, Accelerated Reform Fund. So we're accessing some funds through there. But yeah, there's really no funding for this. If a council invests in us, they have to take money away from that real-world carer service, which is not what we want to be doing. So that's why we keep our cost point low, and just look at how do we increase the delivery of that local carer service.
I'm afraid we're probably out of time for questions because I'm conscious that we kind of have to keep going with the other planned session. So big round of applause for Darren.